Hello, my name is Ray Lopez, and I'm your City Council representative for District 6. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our program today, and I'm very excited to have a special guest with us, Tony Bosman, who's the Director of Customer Service, 311, as most of you know it, and later our Solid Waste Director, David McCurry. On today's show, we'll discuss a very important role customer service and 311 plays in running of our city, and then we'll switch gears to our Solid Waste Director to talk a little bit more about our aggressive goal of 60% recycling by the year 2020. Now I'd like to welcome to the show Tony Bosman. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's certainly a pleasure to have you. Every time I get a chance to talk to you, I realize how important it is what you do as it relates to delivering services to our constituents, to our city. People just think that everything works, and that all they have to do is turn a switch, turn on a faucet, make a phone call, and things get taken care of. They think that because we have a very good customer service department.
Thank you.
Which I want to thank you for it. I think the other thing is when it breaks, it becomes a bit of a problem, and sometimes there are glitches in the system. And I'd like to talk a little bit about that. Not only how do we get issues and complaints into 311. How do people come in and get services done, like coming into the link centers and all that, and then how we go about maybe even analyzing the good, the bad, and maybe even the ugly of how we can make the system better and deliver better for our constituents.
Sure.
And we'll spend our time doing that today. So I mentioned a little bit, I mentioned the Community Link Center. Mm-hmm. Tell us, what is a Community Link Center?
Well, one of the things we wanted to do with the community link centers is that we wanted to decentralize our city services. It didn't make sense that a customer would have to go to one department and then go across town to another department or across the street for another department to get whatever they wanted. Our thinking is let's do the best we can by bringing and consolidating those city services. Mm-hmm. So a community link center is basically a city store. Okay? If you wanted to compare us, it would be the department would be like an H-E-B. We would be a well-stocked convenience store. So a customer can go to a community link center, and we have 5 of them. Let me mention, we have the Valley View Community Link Center, which is on the corner of Blanco and West Avenue. We have Las Palmas. Mm-hmm. We have South Park Mall. We have City Base Community Link Center over there up Military Drive. And then we have our other one, which is Oak Ridge off of Nacogdoches. Mm-hmm. So those 5 link centers are basically with minimum staffing, a manager and 4 or 3 customer service reps. But a person can walk into that link center, and if they want a birth certificate, a death certificate, an immunization record, if you want an electrical, mechanical, plumbing permit, if you want to make a park reservation, if you want to pay a municipal court fine, all of that can be done in one location.
Garage sale permit?
Garage sale permits as well. So all of those can be done. And so what we were thinking in terms of, let's do it as conveniently as possible, mm-hmm. and let's strategically locate these centers so they're on via bus passes, via bus routes, or other routes that's easy accessible. So the customers are coming. I mean, if you build it and it makes sense, they will come. And so our hours of operation are 7:45, to 5 o'clock, except for South Park, which runs 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. But we started the link centers, and I'll tell you what, they have really taken off. Last year, we brought in about $7.2 million in revenue collections. So that means that our customers who want a garage sale permit, like you said, or who want a birth certificate, will go right there to get that service. And so that just made sense to us. And so that's what the Community Link Center are about. Now, we took that computer logic and that staff, and we moved it to the 311 call center. Okay? So to follow up on what we do with the 311 system, we basically started the call center in 2000. Back then, we said to ourselves, again, it doesn't make sense for a customer to open up a phone book and say, let me see, who do I call for a pothole? It's a dead animal. Who do I call for a dead animal? That's not their responsibility. That's our responsibility as a city. So we created the 311 system to say, you call us and we'll take it from there. So we organize and we work with key departments behind the scene. So if you call the 311 system, we want to make sure that you have a knowledgeable, friendly, courteous individual that is answering the phone with that sense of understanding and appreciation for the customer. So we will take that call, put it into what we call a service request, and that electronically goes to that individual department. Now, when we started the call center back in 2000, we were getting a little over 530,000 phone calls. Last year, we got 1.2 million calls.
Wow.
Okay, just to give you an idea. Again, if it makes sense, people will use it. And I go to community meetings all the time, and I'll ask, how many of you use 311? All the hands go up.
Right.
To me, that's great. That is good news, because that's what we're here about.
Yeah.
We're here to serve that particular customer on what it is they need. So we have grown to 1.2 million. 70% of the calls that we take are informational calls. The other 30% are service requests. So the service request is going to be, there's a dead animal that you picked up, you missed my garbage, there's a pothole, you know, all those type of service requests that we get. So 30% of those. I'm glad it's not flipped, okay?
Right.
Because then that would be a huge amount. So we work with those 30% of those service requests, which averages about 300,000 service requests on a yearly basis.
Yeah, so it's a very well used, and obviously the adoption rate, so to speak, for the public has been real high. I know that as we started rolling that out, and I want to thank you for coming to our meetings and letting people know how important this was. But really, it doesn't work if the people don't use it consistently, because it also gives you a lot of good data on, you know, what are the problems out there, and what do departments have to do to staff it. I know from my perspective, I mean, we're always making sure that we're trying to correctly staff all of our departments to meet the needs. Not to have too many, not to have too little. And I think this kind of data really gives us an ability to manage the staff, or at least for the city manager, to know what the amount of requests are going to be, so we can staff accordingly. Statistically, I mean, do you guys do a lot of that kind of analysis on, the impact to the community and then feed it back as far as from a staff perspective?
We do, because when you look at all the service requests that come in, and I'll take District 6 as an example, of the over 300,000, you guys average about 10% of the service requests. So you're in the middle of the pack. We also know that when we go of the 10% that you received, solid waste, and you're going to have David McCary, my understanding, in the next segment. Solid waste is your primary call coming out of District 6, followed by animal care, followed by code compliance, and then followed by public works. And so one of the major calls in your area would be stray animals, followed by dead animals. So, you know, you're seeing a lot of those type of calls, or missed garbage in those areas. So we're able to work with the departments, and they're able to see that data as well. So one good example is that if you're seeing a lot of stray animals in a particular area and dead animals in the same area, it's a good idea to what animal care is doing now, going out with those sweeps. So if you can do a sweep and decrease the number of stray calls, then you're also going to decrease the number of dead animal calls, which decreases the work for solid waste.
Right.
Okay? So that's how we look at that data and say, okay, how do we go about managing our intelligence better? Because you know, data can be used in different ways. And so we look at that data from that standpoint. Also, the departments also have access to the same data. And so they'll be looking and analyzing that information and saying, okay, how many crews do we need? How many potholes did we get this year? Is it in the same street? Okay, so there's a point there when you look at where Public Works will look at it and say, we're getting a lot of pothole requests, and it happens to be within this particular street area. Maybe it's better that we mill the street rather than continuing to patch it and patch it and patch it.
Exactly, because I can tell you that one of the things that my staff and I do a lot of, we have a thing called the Infrastructure Management Plan, the IMP.
Sure.
Or basically it's money that's been allocated for the district, and we do, as you were saying, overlay of a street or whatever. So what I want to get into a position to do, and my staff is working real hard to make sure we can kind of mechanize it, if you will, get it within the CRM structure to say, where are we getting the majority of the pothole calls?
Right.
And do I have that neighborhood scheduled for IMP investment? If I don't, I might want to start considering moving it up, because typically that IMP plan, that maintenance plan, is a 5-year plan. So maybe I'm getting a lot of calls in year 3. I might want to consider moving it to year 2, or maybe even to year 1. And if I don't have the money, well, then I'll probably have to knock on the manager's door to get more money or get the funding. But I think it's, I guess, the information gives us an ability to manage our city and deliver the services that that the public needs.
You're absolutely correct. And so that's how we use that data. And so we share that, and the departments also have that, to be able to look at code compliance complaints in a particular area. So there's a whole host of different service requests that we get, and we're able to look at that data and say, how do we want to dissect this data, and what is the data actually telling us? So that is really helping us quite a bit. I know I don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to touch on a new program that we just implemented called CRM, or Customer Relationship Management. What happened there is that for years, for the past 10 years, we've been using a system that is a mainframe application. What that means is that you have programmers programming some of the applications that you want. So we moved out of that just a few months ago, as you know, and we implemented a new CRM, or Customer Relationship Management System. What that system is now allowing us to do is, rather than having shadow systems in the background, where this department might be tracking their data and this department might be tracking their data, now we have a system that it all comes through one system, okay? So we can true up the number. We know now the type of service requests that we're getting, and we're pretty comfortable, because in the past you might call me and say, Tony, can you tell me how many service requests have come into my district? I would always put a caveat and say, Councilman, I can give you what came in through the 311 only, because I wasn't quite sure if others were putting in service requests using their own systems.
Right.
So this gives us an opportunity to really bring in the service request through one area. The other piece of the CRM, it's really going to allow us to do what you're asking, to really now track informational calls as well, and service requests. And so we're able to now look at that and map it out even better. From our customer standpoint, we also revamped our self-service on the CRM. So a customer now can get on the website, and it's very simple. Go to www.sanantonio.gov. Go to 311, and right on the right corner, there'll be a drop-down menu that says 311 service request. That's simple. You bring it in there, and you just put in your service request. It'll geo-validate it, and what that means is this a real street? Or did you forget to put boulevard? You know, all that stuff. So it puts it in there, and then you're able to put your email address so that you can get a return, if you will, and that's how we close the loop with our customers.
Well, I think that that's exactly what we have to evolve into, deploying technology to make it easier for our citizens to give us the input and for us to respond quicker and then give them a response on, this is what we did about what you wanted. Right. And I think that's what people are looking for. What I'd like to do, invite you to come back to the show and talk a little bit about how the technology going forward is going to be implemented to continue the level of improvement we're doing for our community and our constituents.
You know, we're constantly going to be growing, you're right, by technology, and I'll be glad to come back and talk to you.
Look forward
about
to it.
Some of the things we're doing and how we're going to push that envelope further.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate that. And stay with us. We'll be right back to talk to David McCurry about all the great things that are happening in his department. Thank you.
Oye, Luis, ¿sabías que eres el plan de Elmo?
¿Tu plan?
Sí, la mami de Elmo dijo que si Elmo se enferma y no puede ir a la escuela, el plan es que Elmo se quede en casa con Luis y María.
Así es, ya tenemos ese plan.
¡Genial!
Es difícil predecir cuándo su niño estará muy enfermo para ir a la escuela. Así es que tenga un plan para que su niño se quede en casa hasta mejorarse.
Luis es el plan porque a Elmo cuidará. Luis es el plan porque a Elmo cuidará.
Para obtener más información sobre cómo prevenir la gripe, visite flu.gov.
If you're looking for a new pet that your family will cherish every day, consider adopting from a shelter. Shelters are the best places to find a new pet. That's where you'll discover healthy, loyal, and loving animals, eager to become a part of your family. A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet, so bring home your new buddy today. To find out more, visit theshelterpetproject.org.
Welcome back to the program. I'm your host, District 6 Councilman Ray Lopez. We're going to talk to David McCurry, Director of Solid Waste Department, who is here today to discuss all the year's recycling goals, and not only for this year, but going into the future. David, as everybody knows, we are very interested and concerned about having an aggressive, effective program for recycling, and that's your charge. And I got to say, you're doing a really good job of it. But I know that there are a lot of other things that are in our future, and I'd like to talk a little bit about that. As a matter of fact, let's jump right into that.
Okay.
You know, I know that there's a goal of, I think, 60% recycle materials by the year 2020. Right? I mean, that's a pretty lofty goal. I know when we were setting that goal, that objective, everybody's going, well, can we get there? Can we get there? And I think everybody had a lot of confidence in you to make it aggressive. You've shown a lot of efforts in that. But tell us a little bit about what does it mean to get to zero waste and that kind of stuff?
Well, thank you for inviting us, and let's get started with that. The 60% recycling goal is about creating a pathway to zero waste, meaning that the waste that we generate actually doesn't go into the landfills. So if from the city's perspective, we're looking at it as a journey, and with that journey, it really includes that you recycle your materials, or either don't reuse them or reuse them first, you recycle them, or either you give them back to nature, which gives us an opportunity to recycle. We also want residents of San Antonio to look at waste as a resource versus just throwing something away. So you've heard the old saying, one's trash is another one's treasure. Mm-hmm. Almost the same principle behind that. So when you look at zero waste, it means that 90% or better of your waste does not go into your area landfills.
90%?
90% or better. That's the true definition of it. So with us setting a goal of 60% by the year 2020, it is very aggressive, but it is also very obtainable.
And I think that's important for people to realize that indeed, as aggressive as it is, and it isn't going to happen just by continuing to do the kinds of things that we're doing. We have to do a lot more innovative, those kinds of things. And I know you're doing some of that stuff. Let me ask you about one. I know that one of these programs is this the city's leaf collection program. Tell us a little bit about that, and what do you think the impact of that program is going to be on the initiative?
Well, the impact of that is very simple. A lot of times our leaf collections have actually been going in our brown cart. And you know, everything that goes in the brown cart actually goes into a landfill. Mm-hmm. And with us taking the leaf collections out now, it allows us to get residents an opportunity to recycle their leaves and grass clippings. We have what they call your craft bags. It allows you to put material in these double liner paper or double ply paper bags. Mm-hmm. And some of them are pretty tall, so they hold quite a bit. And with that, it allows residents to call our 311 system, allows them to ask for up to 50 bags to be picked up at one given time, and they can do that twice a year as a part of our program. And if they by chance have a pretty big yard and more leaves fall than expected, then they can ask for a third time, but for a small fee of $20.
Now, can they also go and buy those bags anywhere? Are retailers making them available?
In fact, they are. We have Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart also has them, as well as H-E-B and some of the other retailers. They're available. Last time I checked, they were able to buy 5 of those large bags for like $1.88. It was very
no, they're not real. Yeah,
They're
it's not expensive at all.
Yeah, but they do the trick, and we only ask that you try not to let them weigh more than about 40 pounds. But once you fill that up, we can get it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's, I think, what's important is for people to know that they have a lot of different options to be able to go for it. And if it's sometimes often an issue of, well, I don't have the bags or I don't know where to get them.
Right.
And sometimes I can't afford to buy them. I can tell you that your staff has been really, your department's been great with my staff, where virtually everywhere we go, we walk around with the great big bags. I keep telling people that's my lunch bag. My wife says I shouldn't eat that much, but I walk around with those great big bags. But making them available, and we certainly do that at all of our meetings, and your staff has been great, in doing that. I know that we're also talking this year about a kind of adjusting the pickup or the cycles I think we had gone to one cycle and back to two on tell us a little bit about that on the leaf collection.
Yeah, well, what happens is, our leaf collection actually gets to our bitters brush site where we compost, well, we actually mulch it. It doesn't actually get turned into compost from that particular process. But it's the same bitters brush site that takes in our brush collection services that's a part of our brush and bulky. So when we separated our brush from our bulky collection program, and we came out this past year twice a year for brush and one time for bulky, it allowed us to recycle even more brush and then taking it to the bitters brush site to get it processed. We've taken it a step further, and this year for 2012, we're actually incorporating 2 brush and 2 bulky. So look forward to us coming to the communities twice for brush and twice for bulky. So every 3 months, you'll be looking at us making a full round around the city.
Well, I think that's great, and we're getting that word out, and I tell you, it's being received incredibly well. I know you've got other programs like the organics recycling pilot program that's going on. I think a lot of folks are excited about that. How's that coming along, and what do you think will make it not a pilot, but where we deploy it across the city?
Well, it's a 30,000 home pilot, and it's actually going very well. We're able to not only communicate with our residents that are dealing with the pilot, but I wanted to kind of frame what the organics program really is.
Okay.
It actually allows us to take in your yard waste, your tree trimmings, grass clippings, your shrubs, hedges, those kind of things. And it allows us not only to place that in the green cart that's put out the same day as the brown cart, but it takes it a step further. We're able to take on our food waste as well. So if you have like scrap vegetables, fruits, sometimes coffee grinds work well. There's also a component of organics that allows us to take shredded paper, shredded napkins. If you have an old pizza box that got the soiled pizza from the bottom, then that whole pizza box can go in there as well. And with the food being added, we're actually the first city in Texas to have a curbside food waste, actual organics curbside collection program. So we're excited about that, and the residents, as we continue to measure the success for it, we're looking forward to coming back to council and bringing them an update.
And do you think that this will evolve out of a pilot and go citywide?
Yes, and in fact, I see all the indicators because we're doing surveys. We still have one more survey left to do to see what were some of the advantages that the residents actually enjoyed. We did what we call the block walking with all 30,000 customers just to make certain that they understood what the kitchen bin was being used for, how do you keep it wrapped so that you don't have odors, and other activities that you normally would do with your brown cart. You just had to think about it for the green cart. So we're excited about it. The residents are utilizing it. We have a very low contamination rate, which also is a good sign that the residents get the understanding of the program.
Well, that's good. So, and where do the organics go? I mean, where are they taken?
Yeah, currently as a part of the pilot, we take it to New Earth. They're a company here based in San Antonio that are local, and as a part of that, they actually are processing it into compost. And with that, we're looking to, at some point in time, give back some of the compost to the community. It's enriched with nutrients within inside, and it helps to even contain the moisture of water so that you don't have to water as much. And here in South Texas, that's always good to have.
No question about it. I know that you were talking a minute ago about coffee grinds and composting and leaves and all that. Right. Quite honestly, my wife seldom puts the stuff in the bags because she takes it in the bag, and we have a mulch pit and we do all that kind of stuff. And so it all goes into our. She's very good at doing that.
Backyard composting.
That's right. She's ahead of her time, and I can tell you that between my wife and certainly my grandkids that are very conscious about recycling, all those kinds of things, has made Grandpa much more of a recycler, much more aware of what's going on in our environment, which kind of leads me to maybe kind of the final point that we talk about here, and that's really education. And that's, sometimes I say it jokingly in a sense, in that us old fogies sometimes have a hard time adapting new ways of doing things, right? Throwing our trash away perhaps, or separating things. The young generation absolutely does not have that problem. Right. They're exposed to that kind of benefit, the the rationale behind it about our good green earth and all that. Right. What are you doing, or what is the department doing to kind of get that education out there, more than just sending out flyers and putting door hangers on, but to make sure that we bring up a generation of very conscious, yes, environmentally conscious individuals?
Well, that's a great question, because what we're doing is we are reaching out to create the next generation of recyclers. We're in the schools with our communities. We're also getting out not only with the schools, but we're also trying to touch bases with the universities as well and other educational tools to actually get the message out. This year we've actually done a couple of commercials that allowed us to talk about our multifamily recycling program that was done through policy that was enacted, and that is also coming along okay. So anyone that lives in the footprint of San Antonio has access, convenient access to nice recycling programs. So just in case you have a resident that doesn't like to do yard work, that doesn't mean they don't get an opportunity to recycle. So that multifamily recycling program is going extremely nice. And as we get the message out to all of our residents, it's pretty clear that we're headed toward a very sustainable city.
Well, you're absolutely right. You guys are doing a fantastic job. So, and I was going to ask you, if there's a particular message you want to communicate to folks about what's going on and what they can expect in the future, what would that message be?
Well, the message is clear, that we can do it together here in San Antonio. We have some of the greatest skill sets, the greatest talents, and just the desire to look after our planet. We have to make certain that the next generation we look after, even before they get here. I was happy to announce that my oldest daughter is expecting a little one. So for me to be a first-time grandpa, it's important for me to make certain that we leave a legacy for our future generations.
Well, message well received, and I know that the community subscribes to that message. I got to tell you, though, on a very personal note, parenting is truly a wonderful blessing that the Lord gives us.
Yes.
And I know you've had the riches of being a parent. Grandparenting is even a bigger blessing.
Whoa.
Well, I can assure you that I've got quite a few grandchildren of my own, and grandparenting clearly is a lot more fun than parenting. The spoil factor, I think, is what us grandparents appreciate the most. You're going to get ready to go through that experience, and
well, I'm looking forward.
Yeah,
to
it's going to be
yes.
a lot of fun. Well, again, David, thank you so much for being here. The information that you shared with us today is, I think, a clear message to our community that we are concerned, that we're doing the right things, and we're not just doing the right things in today's environment, that we're preparing ourselves to make sure that San Antonio continues to be the kind of environment people want to live in. So thank you for what you do there.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for tuning in. I'd like once again to thank my guests for taking the time to provide us the great information that they did regarding our city's newest services, our 311 and the recycling that we'll be doing over the course of the next 10 years, and making sure that our planet, as David said a few minutes ago, is a place where not only we want to live, but our children. I'm your City Councilman, Ray Lopez, and thank you, San Antonio.
Did you know that getting up and getting active for just 60 minutes a day is all it takes to help you get stronger, look better, and feel great?
Or that fresh fruits and veggies aren't just healthier and crunchier, they can taste better too?
Eating better and getting more active is easier than you think.
Yeah! Keep watching for some fun and easy ways to discover the magic of healthy living in your life.
America.
Let's get healthy together!
Really? Buzz, what's up, man? You left some leaves burning out here.
Yeah, I just came in just for a second.
Come on, man. If it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave. You could torch the whole neighborhood.
It's a good point there, Smokey.
9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.